Nikola Jokic 3P MVP?
I don't know. I mean, he has some nice numbers. They're kind of similar to MVP Russ. You know, he's averaging a triple-double and all. But I think it's either going to be Luka or Tatum. Luka, you know, the only concern for him is the win record and his turnovers. But Tatum, you know, he has the wins, he has the points, he has the numbers. So I don't know. I think it's either between Tatum and Joker.
Yes, Nikola Jokic is him, and he will win the MVP.
Bro, you want to give some reason behind that? Damn, I wrote a whole paragraph about that.
He's the best passer in the league. He's a top 5 rebounder, and he averages like 30, 10, and 10 a game. Like,
He doesn't though. He averages
past
25.
couple weeks.
Okay, to second that, he is like the best passer in the league, other than Tyrese Halliburton, who just got out with a broken knee or something, and a broken elbow, whatever. He's basically done for the season, in my opinion.
He's returning in a week, by the way.
He averages a triple-double, which is actually like one of the most rare things we've seen in an NBA player in a while. And my personal favorites are Luka. Luka's definitely in that race with Jokic because they play at a different speed compared to the rest of the NBA. They play slower. They have like more concentrated shots and are more like wise with the ball. But the other candidates I have are Tatum, Embiid, Giannis, and KD.
KD's out.
Yeah. Giannis currently battling this knee. He's basically He's been broken up this entire season. Embiid, obviously, just doing great. And Tatum, you know, yeah.
Before 2023, Giannis was actually averaging like 40 a game.
Yeah, he was the second overall fantasy draft pick, so I thought that in.
Yeah, Jokic is averaging
Jokic is
25,
number 1, by
11,
the way.
10. So, 62% shooting, that's pretty good. And his box plus minus is 9.5.
And he looked just like MVP Russ, honestly. Oh, the only thing that's a little concerning is his points per game. He's getting like 25.
Yeah,
But
25. Wow, that's so less.
I mean, compared to like Luka is going 34, 9, and 9, he's almost getting the same as Jokic.
Yeah, but I mean, stats are inflated these days, bro. The amount of
Nuggets
scoring
have the
in
best
games
record.
is insane.
One stat that definitely isn't too inflated is points. And Luka.
No, points is inflated.
Points is 100.
Points is
I
one-
mean, you see Luka dropping 50 every game, bro. Come on now.
Yeah, but Luka's like the current points leader, but like barely in front of Tatum. And Tatum hasn't had.
He has 34, by the way.
Yeah, 34. And the big changer for me is if Jokic can keep playing healthy. Like if he just plays healthy, the rest of the Nuggets can play healthy because Nuggets are the number 1 seed. They can go for a really deep playoff run. They can win the entire damn thing because the Grizzlies suck. We all know that. Yeah. Warriors
Yeah,
can
but Jokic chokes in the playoffs, so.
That is a good point. And also, one more thing, his box is really nice. Like, he's getting 9.5 plus minus. Tatum is a bit below with 7. So I don't know. If we're going defensive wise, I feel like Joker's really up there too.
Yeah. Cool.
NBA trade deadline is coming up in a few weeks. Let's see what changes teams will make to their roster.
Trae Young definitely needs to get traded. DeJounte Murray they're both the most overrated backcourt in the NBA, and they shoot with like insanely trash efficiency and forced turnovers. Even though they're like the best assists, they have like pretty good passing. They're not like doing well as a team.
Well, right now, Chris Middleton of the top 5 free agents this upcoming season: Westbrook, Middleton, Harden, Irving, and Porzingis. 3 of the 5 have their player options, so they can choose whether they want to re-sign with the team. It's not up to the team. That would be Middleton, Harden, and Porzingis, assuming all those 3 players re-sign. Westbrook and Kyrie are the next 2 players, the best probably available.
Yeah, so obviously Trae Young, there's a lot of rumors going around Atlanta's practice team, locker room, where he is not liking like the current coaching staff because the people that drafted him, the executives that actually drafted him, just got replaced. And in a recent story that came out, his coach had actually benched him for a game because he skipped a shoot-around. Clearly, this is angering Young, and he is the biggest key piece of the team. So I think he'll definitely look to get away from Atlanta because he's obviously not getting the respect he wants there due to the changing coaching staff.
I also
So
think.
what- So what do you think they should do then? Like if Trey does want to leave, like who should they get for Trey? What are they gonna do about it if Trey's trying to leave?
Trade away, since he has super high trade value. He's a superstar. He can drop 30 points a night, 10 assists. They should trade for more defense. Like maybe from the Raptors, OG. You can trade for OG. He can guard the wing really well. He's like one of the best defenders in the NBA.
I also feel that the general manager of the Hawks, he's trying to help Trae Young, because he went out to go get DeJounte Murray, bring him to the team, because he knows to win a championship, it can't just be Trae Young. He has to have his sidekick. He has his DeJounte Murray. Let's see, maybe the Atlanta Hawks will keep both of them for the future.
Yeah, I mean, I do think that they want to keep Trae Young. Like, I don't think they would like to trade him away, but you know, if Trae Young pulls a James Harden, there's not really much they can do about it. So
Obviously, as Dennis said, though, they're probably going to be the least efficient backcourt in the league. So I definitely think they may want to look for other paths in their backcourt.
Our first divisional matchup of this weekend is the number 1 seeded Kansas City Chiefs and the number 4 seeded Jacksonville Jaguars. The Jaguars winning 8 of the last 10 games, including a playoff win against the Chargers and a 27-point comeback. They enter this game as 10-8, and the 14-3 Chiefs, the number 1 seed. A big game for both young quarterbacks here. What do you guys think of the outcome of this game?
all right, no matter what's happening, the Chiefs are winning. Because as a wise man named Jacob once told me, always go with the Chiefs. So that's my opinion on that.
Yeah, so everyone's going to say, oh, wow, the Jags, they've won their 8 of their last 10 games. But their 2 losses were to the very strong momentum Lions, who nearly made a playoff run, and the Chiefs. And obviously, the Jags, they're a really good team. They're made of strong rookies who have a lot of potential, and I can see them becoming divisional champions because they're in a pretty weak division with the Titans. So, yeah. But one thing to note is that T. Lawrence is questionable. He has had a nagging toe injury since week 13 and had limited practice this week. And we don't know. He's never been out for this actual injury, but maybe this could affect the way he plays.
Trevor Lawrence may not be at 100%, but he will definitely play. Him and his teammates know for sure that he needs to be on the field for the win. But let's go back to that Week 10 matchup between the Chiefs and the Jaguars. It was a very big game, as the Jaguars lost that game 27-17, and they fell to 3-7. The Chiefs won that game, went up to 7-3. It's an interesting game from both quarterbacks. Trevor Lawrence threw for 260 passing yards, 2 touchdowns. And Mahomes threw for 330 yards, 4 touchdowns with 1 interception, including 4. And out of those 4 touchdown passes, he threw them all to different receivers: Noah Gray, Travis Kelce, Marquez Valdez-Scantling, and Kadarius Toney.
All right, so I got one question for you guys, but who do you think is going to be in that backfield for the Kansas City Chiefs? Because they have their rookie, Isaiah Pacheco, who's obviously been doing really good these past few weeks. They have Jerick McKinnon, who's had an absolute explosion in the passing game. And they have Clyde Edwards-Helaire, who I believe is coming back, but obviously he may not be 100%. So who do they trust, the veteran, the rookie, or the momentum guy?
For sure, Isaiah Pacheco. They've been going with Isaiah Pacheco these last few weeks, as either has been benched by the team because of his poor performance. He was unable to get going between last year and the start of this year, so they immediately put in Pacheco and in the run game. But for sure in the pass game, they have Jerick McKinnon. He's a fabulous receiver, even behind Patrick Mahomes.
If Trevor Lawrence doesn't play on Saturday, then Jaguars will definitely lose because they're going to have a second string QB and Trevor Lawrence is going to carry them. But also, it's still going to be a hard game to win because Andy Reid is one of the best play callers in the NFL, and they got the best QB, number 1 QB, MVP probably, MVP candidate, and they also got the best tight end in the league too, so it's going to be really hard to play defense against that.
I'd also just like to say we can clearly see Trevor Lawrence's improvement from year 1 to year 2. His first year with Urban Meyer, he had a 71.9 quarterback rate. And this year with Doug Peterson, he's been able to increase it from 71.9 to 95.2. That's a really big increase. And I just want to say that Trevor Lawrence, he looks like a great quarterback right now. I'd love to see him play this game against Patrick Mahomes, and I expect a big game from both of them. Combined 600 plus yards and 5 touchdowns. But what are you guys' final predictions?
I think history is just gonna repeat itself. It's not gonna be a blowout as much as it was last time. I think Chiefs will sneak away with the victory. It's gonna be a close game and an interesting game to watch, but I do think the Chiefs will close it out here.
I think it's going to be a shootout if Trevor Lawrence does play, and I feel like Patrick Mahomes will in the end will come out with the victory.
I would say that this is a complete blowout for the Chiefs. The Jags obviously carrying some huge momentum after the comeback, but like, I don't see them winning this game. Like compared to one of the best defenses in the league, one of the probably the best offense in the league right now, other than the Niners, big Niner gang. But yeah, this is gonna be a blowout in my opinion for the Chiefs.
My opinion, I personally think the Jaguars will chew out a W here. They have a lot of momentum, especially after that second half performance against the Chargers. I think they can pull it off. But I think it's necessary that the Jaguars remove the chains and continually get first downs because they cannot punt the football. In the Week 10 game, the Jaguars punted 6 times and the Chiefs only punted twice. You gotta see a smaller difference there. And the Jaguars really need to move the ball down, and their defense needs to play stifling against the pass catchers that the Chiefs have.
One big thing, I just want to ask you guys, what player do you think is going to make the biggest difference on that field? For me, I think it's going to be Travis Kelce, because just the mismatch he has on everyone. He's like a modern day Gronk in my opinion. He basically can destroy defenses, and I think he's going to be a big difference maker. For the Jags, I think it might be Travis Etienne, but what do you guys think?
For the Jaguars, I think for sure it's Christian Kirk. They paid him that big salary, and no one expected him, and everyone thought he was an overpaid receiver. But I hope he has a big game. In that Week 10 game, he had 105 receiving yards and 2 touchdowns, the only 2 that Trevor Lawrence threw. And I do think the Jaguars are going to win this game, so I expect a really big game from Christian Kirk.
Yeah, I gotta agree with Jacob on this one. Just from the last matchup that we can see, all the touchdowns going to him, and getting those 105 receiving yards.
I agree with Rohan. Travis Kelce is definitely going to be the biggest impact player because Mahomes is #1 target, and if you have an MVP quarterback throwing it to a top 2 tight end in NFL history, there's no other better combination.
Okay, well, we all have our personal opinions on the Chiefs and the Jaguars. Let's move on to the next game on Saturday. It's going to be the 1-seeded Eagles and the 6-seeded Giants. It's a big game here. The Giants losing both the previous games, one of them without their starting quarterback in Daniel Jones. So let's see how this game will go. What do you guys think about the Eagles and the Giants?
So I definitely think that this is going to be a blowout win for the Eagles. The Giants obviously doing a lot of great things. They're making a good playoff run, but I don't think they can stand up to the Eagles because obviously Saquon, great weapon, but if you look at the back 7 for the Eagles, they have some of the best. They have the best passing defense in the league. Darius Slay, and other stars on that roster. So obviously, the passing game has been working for the Giants as well as the running game. But we obviously know that the Eagles are really great against the run. So I think this is going to be a blowout win for the Eagles.
Yeah, I think the real way that we can tell who's gonna win or lose in this is, I think if the Eagles can sufficiently stop Barkley from he's a super weapon, stop him from getting the runs, they can really pretty easily pull out with the victory here. The only path I can see for the Giants to victory is through getting those consistent run yardage and having some really good defense.
Let's go back to that Week 14 matchup between the Eagles and the Giants. Big matchup for both teams. Jalen Hurts had 214 passing yards, 2 passing touchdowns. But not only that, he had 77 rushing yards and a rushing touchdown. He was explosive when he had the football. Miles Sanders had 144 rushing yards and 2 rushing touchdowns. And Boston Scott had 33 rushing yards and 1 rushing touchdown. That would total out to be 254 rushing yards and 4 total rushing touchdowns. This run game is insane, especially with Jalen Hurts there. If Miles Sanders can play, this game will be an easy route for the Eagles.
Yeah, I can say that is all because of one man and 4 other men, Jordan Mailata, Lane Johnson, and Jason Kelsey. That O-line is the best O-line in the league right now, no doubt. Their running game has succeeded because of that. Miles Sanders is shooting up the charts as trade stock. And Jalen Hurts, obviously just a playmaker, has thrived and become a two-way threat. So I don't know how the Giants are going to hold them back, especially with their weak front 4.
Yeah, also in that Week 14 matchup, the Giants punted 4 more times than the Eagles. And Eagles defensive end Brandon Graham was able to get 3 sacks on Daniel Jones and 4 tackles in that game. If that will play out again, I think this will be an easy win, 31-24 Eagles. But I'd love to see how Daniel Jones plays and Saquon Barkley play.
I feel like Danny Dimes and Saquon are probably not going to be able to beat the Eagles because the Eagles' Eagles secondary is just too good for them. They're going to overpower them, and the Eagles actually their offense won't, if they don't convert on offense, they really got to rely on their defense because their defense always wins games. So you got to rely on their defense, and Jalen Hurts got to run the ball and pass it to his two weapons.
Okay, just for the sake of, what are your guys' final predictions? My prediction is 31 for the Eagles, 24 for the Giants. What do you guys think?
I'm gonna go 24 Eagles, 10 Giants.
All right. I'm gonna go against everyone here. I think the Giants might possibly win it. I know it's against everything that you guys are thinking, but I really feel like if they can get those running yards down, they can really pull ahead here. It'll be a very, very close game, even if they do pull out with a victory, though.
I feel like it's also going to be a close game because Saquon is one of the most explosive running backs in the league, and Danny Dimes can pop off at any moment. If the Giants can play defense and somehow stop Jalen Hurts and Miles Sanders, then Giants could win, but I think the Eagles are going to beat them by 3 points, 7 points.
I know I just talked about the Jags probably not going to be carrying that momentum into the Chiefs game, but the Giants just came off the win against the Vikings, who, in my opinion, have a very strong offense that they just cannot utilize due to probably coaching problems. Kirk Cousins, obviously a very great QB. I would say he's overrated.
Not in the playoffs.
Overrated, no, playoffs, yeah. But they could be carrying some of that momentum. Danny Dimes played like an absolute beast, and I could totally see him coming back into the Eagles game and playing his heart out. Maybe not as good as he did against the Vikings, but definitely could be a player to watch here.
Okay, just for the record, Week 18 game between the Giants and the Eagles, Daniel Jones was benched because the Giants had already clinched the playoffs. Let's move on to the next game, which is the Sunday game. It's going to be the Cincinnati Bengals, number 3 seed, versus the Buffalo Bills, number 2 seed. In Week 17 earlier, Damar Hamlin got hurt, so obviously that game didn't finish. I hope he can rest up soon and get back onto the field. But what do you guys think about this game, the Bengals versus the Bills?
It's going to be a really close game. These are two teams that are at the top of their division. They're super strong offensively, great defensively. The Bills obviously have one of the best QBs right now, probably in the MVP race right now, Josh Allen. He has some really great people in his wideouts. Stephon Diggs, obviously a great player. Gabriel Davis, a little bit overrated, but obviously he could do good in the playoffs. He
converts in playoffs.
He converts in playoffs. Yeah, that is true. They have an okay backfield. I wouldn't say it's the best. Devin Singletary, he's a short little dude, but he can get those yards. But in my opinion, I think the Bills are going to come on top. They did pretty good against the Miami Vapins, if you didn't know. The Miami coach, Mike McDaniel, he was puffing on some Zaza on the sideline. So maybe that's why the Dolphins award on top. He was trying to get down to the field in another way. You know what I mean?
Tyreek was also on too much Fortnite. That's why they lost.
Okay, I personally think that the Bengals are going to win this game. I have a score of 37-35. I think Josh Allen and Joe Burrow will combine for over 650 passing yards and 6 touchdowns. I expect this to be a shootout like the Chiefs-Bills divisional game, possibly an overtime matchup. Jamar Chase and T. Higgins, I expect them to both have big games, as well as Stephon Diggs. I expect 350 total yards and 3 touchdowns. I think this will be a phenomenal game to watch. Yeah, what do you guys?
I 100% agree with Jacob. I was literally going to say what he was going to say. Also, Joe Mixon also needs to be a key player in this game because with Von Miller out, in Bills, they have some injuries on defense. I feel like if Joe Mixon pulls off a really good game, the Bengals can win it out in a shootout.
I think they're definitely going to rely on their tight ends here. Dawson Knox and Hayden Hurst, obviously 2 very good tight ends. They didn't have, I wouldn't say they had the best regular season, but they definitely started thriving late in around week 16, week 18. And the passing defense for the Bengals is actually pretty good. You got Eli Apple. Obviously, it didn't do
It's
that
Eli
great.
Apple. He's slacking in the.
Yeah. They have Jesse Bates, one of the best
great.
safeties. So maybe he won't. Allen won't be able to throw to Diggs that much. Maybe not to his top options, but maybe these tight ends will play a role. Same with the Bengals. Bengals obviously have Jamar Chase, explosive. They have
T. Higgins.
Yeah, Tyler Boyd, but Hayden Hurst, very good tight end, played really good on the Patriots, and he could definitely be a big weapon here.
Well, we obviously know the Bills have very good lockdown in their secondary. Jordan Poyer, he's very good. Micah Hyde, he's very good. Davius White, he's very good. We'll wait to see if they can lock down Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Tyler Boyd, and like Rohan said, maybe open up a spot for Hayden Hurst. What are your guys' final predictions for this game? I've already said 37-35 Bengals, and I think this will be a very close game. But what do you guys think?
All right, so for me, I think the win condition for the Bengals is stop having turnovers, play some good defense against the pass catchers and prevent Josh Allen from escaping the pocket. I think the Bills will be able to win if they're able to lock down the defense and stop the passes from Joe Burrow. But I really think that the Bengals will pull away with a victory here. As everyone else has already said, it's gonna be a passing game. I don't think it's gonna be all about the yards.
Okay, so for our next topic, we have the San Francisco 49ers and the Dallas Cowboys. This is an interesting game because we have the last pick in the draft in Brock Purdy versus Dak Prescott. Dak Prescott, who drafted out of Mississippi State, he had some issues. So we'll just see how this one plays out. I think it's a really good game for Purdy. I just want to see how he can play under more and more pressure. But he already has so many weapons in Kittle, McCaffrey, and Debo. Even Ayuk too. His offensive line too. That defense is crazy. I think the Niners will pull this one off. I got a close game though. I got 28 Niners, 24. And I expect Debo, CMC, and Kittle to have over 200 total scrimmage yards and at least 2 touchdowns.
So obviously, Dennis and I, big Niners fans, been Niners fans since the bad days. And
Y'all bandwagons.
I've been here since 2014, bro. Don't even-
Okay, but Brock the Cock. He's got a lot of his teammates are saying he's got the balls to do it. He throws some of the ballsiest passes you'll see, and they work because he's Brock Purdy. Dak Prescott obviously just came off an amazing game against Tampa. But let's say that Tampa defense isn't really the greatest. Historically, haven't really been that good. But obviously, I think the Niners are going to win here, but definitely not in a shutout fashion because last year, the Niners took the Cowboys out of the playoffs, only to lose, obviously, to the Rams.
But that was just Dak Prescott being stupid. They ran the ball with less than 20 seconds left, and they blamed it on the refs after that game because the ref didn't touch the ball. But that's just bad for Dak Prescott and McCarthy. That's their fault, 100%.
Well, I got the Niners winning because obviously I'm a Niners fan, but we got the defensive player of the year, Nick Bosa. He's leading the league in sacks, and we got one of the best. We got the number 1 defense in the NFL, and with Big Cock Brock, bro, he's definitely stepping up, and he's gonna go crazy this game. I think Kittle and Debo, Christian McCaffrey, they're all gonna pop off this game. But it's still going to be a close game because, the Cowboys have Micah Parsons and a really good defense, probably number 2 defense. And Dak Prescott and CeeDee Lamb probably going to go off this game as well because CeeDee's going to be his number 1 target. But I feel like Niners are probably going to win around 28-21.
All right, so I think that's about all we have for the predictions. Next, we're going to move on to, we have 2 main questions that we have to go over. The first one is going to be, where will Brady, Carr, and Lamar go?
Well, that's a very good question. I think that Lamar Jackson's going to leave. I don't know where he'll exactly go to, but that's what I personally think. And the same thing with Aaron Rodgers. We should throw him into the conversation. I think he will leave too. I think he'll leave the Packers. Derek Carr, I also think will leave the Packers, and Derek Carr will leave the Raiders. And I think Brady will leave the Buccaneers too, but I don't know where they'll all go. So maybe they'll all fill each other's roles in. So we'll see. What do you guys think about the quarterbacks and their move?
Okay, so for Lamar, I think he's definitely going to a team that's going to pay him the big bucks. A lot of rumors are going around that he's going to the Jets. The Jets are really good, receivers. their biggest weakness right now, their kryptonite, is their QB. Joe Flacco, Zach Wilson. These guys have been
Mike White.
horrible. Mike White, yeah. And, you know, they just need a QB who can do everything for them. And that's basically what Lamar Jackson is. As for Brady, he needs to retire. Get him out of the NFL, please. I do not want him to see.
Same thing with Aaron Rodgers. He needs to retire.
Okay, well, I don't exactly agree with that. Aaron Rodgers, he definitely has it still in him. He still has that dog in him. He's got that play calling, but obviously he has those rookies who just can't listen to him. So I think that Aaron Rodgers is definitely going to find a team that needs him. And one more person I would like to add, Geno Smith, had one of the most breakout seasons I've seen, and obviously no one counted him. Like, everyone thought the Seahawks weren't going to do this great a year, but under his leadership, under his play calling, he's just a veteran QB. He basically had a Madden 23 my career season, and he did really good this season. And he's going to be a free agent, and I definitely think that Seahawks are going to re-sign him because he has so much potential as a two-way quarterback.
I'm also talking about Geno Smith. I think he will win Comeback Player of the Year. But let's go back to the quarterbacks we were talking about, the ones that would possibly switch teams. What do you think, Dennis?
Okay, Tom Brady, well, number one, he's not going to retire. He already gave up his family, or he gave up his wife, right? So he's committing to football. You can't say he doesn't have the dog in him because he's the greatest of all time. He's one of the biggest athletes in the world. And he should probably go to, in my opinion, he should go to the Raiders because, you know, if Tom Brady and Devontae Adams, including Josh Jacobs in the backfield, would be an insane combo. And the Raiders already gave up Derek Carr, so if Brady goes to the Raiders, it might be like a game changer.
All right, everyone. Does anyone have anything else to say about this question? No. All right.
Sonya would like to have something.
Yeah, hey, smoking up back. Hey, yeah. Hey, yeah, bitch, show me that back. Hey, what? Hey, I'm blowing up fast. Yeah.